Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to today's career road mapping session and episode 5. I'm joined by Claire, who is joining us today, and we have Alex, who is waiting in the wings, ready to come on and have his career road mapping session with us after this first introduction on how the Tokyo Lifter Film Festival is running. So Claire, do you want to tell everyone how it's going?
It is going fantastically. We are in our 3rd week, so we've been running Tokyo Liftoff from the beginning of June, and we're going to be running right until the end. We currently have our trendsetter feature narratives running, along with our Trailblazer shorts, and it's been great. So we're sort of at the midway point, I guess, of this week. We've already got about 100 people watching our shorts, 50 people watching our features.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And the exciting thing is that we're beginning to see those audience choice selections, but all could change.
Yeah,
all will change.
Okay. So there's 2 more programs left that will be going live from Sunday, and that will be a full month of Tokyo Liftoff, which has been running, which is, like Claire said, I'm so happy with the amount of people that have participated and the filmmakers who have allowed us to put this festival on. Thank you so much for all of your support. So going on to winners and prizes. So there will be 2 season award nominations from the Tokyo Lifter Film Festival, and our season awards is our red carpet mega event that takes place at Pinewood Studios every year, and it's the night where we truly award the best of the best from that previous year. And it's so much fun, isn't it, Claire?
It's amazing. We love it. It's where we just get to reflect the insane standard of talent that we get to witness over the 12 months of our different festivals and showcases.
Absolutely.
And I've just realised how apt it is that you've introduced the season awards.
I did it on purpose.
Oh, there we go. Because today we are speaking with Alex, who was one of our season award nominees.
And winners.
And then winner.
Yeah.
But I'll let you introduce him further now.
Okay, so Alex first came to Pinewood for our first time filmmaker showcase. Was it a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe even longer than that? We've known Alex for a while now, and he screened his film Rabbits, and it was phenomenal. Rabbits then went on to get a screening at London Liftoff, and from there it was nominated for the best first time filmmaker category. And from that, Rabbits picked up the award. So it's just fantastic to see Alex's journey from attending one of the showcases here at Pinewood to then holding the trophy in his hands at the end of the season awards. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to Alex. Here he is.
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank
Hi.
you so much for joining us.
That's okay.
So, yeah.
Yes, great. Yeah.
How was your experience with the season awards a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so I've always said this actually, that it's especially first-time filmmaker. You go to all of these you go to a lot of film festivals and awards and all the rest of it, and they promise you so much, and they never really deliver. But Liftoff is one of the few that actually do deliver, and also you get to go to like a really swanky party. And then they invite you back and you keep a network going, you keep it alive really well, and it's something a lot of new filmmakers don't get a chance to do.
Thank you for saying. Yeah, as we mentioned, it is one of our highlights as well. Definitely. Of the year, and it feels so good to bring everyone in the same place, and hopefully from that you can collaborate or definitely network with the other filmmakers that are within your kind of realm. So yes. But apart from what you've shown at Liftoff and on your own independent career, you work as an assistant producer on lots of documentaries. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I've for the last 3 years now been an assistant producer on kind of an array of documentaries and formats, kind of starting off with true crime documentaries, and then moving on to kind of doing more factual entertainment and also kind of pop science and engineering documentaries.
Oh wow!
And I've done that for kind of channels like Netflix, Discovery, Discovery ID. Yeah, and kind of really just moving, and I've moved my way through there. I'm kind of at that period now where we're kind of taking the next steps into being the producer director.
That's very cool, but could we just rewind for people who are watching this? Could you tell us like exactly what your first steps were? How did the career first take off?
So if you go right back, if you'd like, 'cause I guess, yeah, people watching this might really want to know how to kind of really start. I had a really strange way into the industry, which was I actually started off, I got a job at an online digital company called Video Jug, which I don't know if it's still around. But at the time, they were the how-to kind of version of YouTube. And I helped in the development for branded pieces, like so branded content pieces. And they were all kind of like how to do the best makeup, how to do this, all the thing that basically led on to the YouTube generation was kind of where I started. And it was a really great place and, whatever, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a documentary. So I kind of took a step back and I went in as working for a company called World Media Rights that did history documentaries. And I worked as something called a drama assistant, which is a kind of very unique thing to drama recon, which is drama reconstruction is kind of, a documentary where you'll see them reconstruct what they're talking about, in almost like a mini short film within the documentary. And my job as that was to essentially, it's a strange job. It's half costume, half prop designer, half researcher. That's 3 halves, which is too many halves. But yeah. But you kind of brought it all together to make sure everything was factually accurate that was on screen, and kind of made sure that and it was great because what it meant is the filmmaker inside of me got to be on what essentially was a short historical film every week.
Yeah.
And we'd go out and, we'd be we once created Baghdad on the roof of a building in Mile End. Then 2 weeks later, we were in Kingston, we was in Kingston 2 weeks later, creating the Nazi headquarters in their town hall, like all that kind of stuff. And it really does feed into you being a filmmaker, like as well, because you kind of get to exercise those muscles of kind of like what every indie filmmaker is about, which is make, do, amend, and, make it work, figure it out. And it was like that, because they were all quite low budget docs at that time. Anyway, so I did that and I worked that, and then I got, I impressed someone enough so that they kind of gave me a chance, an opportunity, and said, "Do you want to come and be an AP on this this new show we're making for Netflix called I Am a Killer?"
Oh wow!
And I'm in between those two things. There was a few little jobs here and there.
Sure.
I kind of worked as a researcher and a few little bits here and there, but kind of working my way up the ladder piecemeal. But that was my big step up. It was someone from that job said that I'd got on with has gone, "Look, let's go. I'm doing this. Do you want a chance?" And I said, "Yeah," I jumped it. And the next thing I know, I'm in Missouri on death row, helping interview murderers, essentially.
Oh my God, that's insane.
And it was on Halloween, and it was horrifying. Yeah, and there was a snowstorm outside, so it felt like a horror film. But I mean, baptism by fire.
Good pathetic fallacy.
I'll admit, I always hold my hands up. I made so many mistakes. What's that? I missed that part.
Good pathetic fallacy there, setting the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that was it. But then I hold my hands up. I made so many mistakes on that show. I made too many mistakes. But I learned from them.
What kind of mistakes?
And I moved forward. And I said I could shoot because I really wanted the job, and I said that I could film, and I could, but probably not to the standard that I should have been able to. That's a very honest opinion. And that is why now I don't touch a camera anymore. It taught me a lesson. I could have gone one or two ways. I could have knuckled down and gone, I'm really going to learn how to shoot, or I realised that there's better DOPs out there, there's better cameramen out there, and there's a reason that they do what they do, and there's a reason and that didn't really went away a bit, but under the recent conditions it seems to be coming back a bit more, which is they will ask assistant producers and researchers to be watching you as the cameraman as well, and it was my first job and I was keen and I said yes, I can do it. Nowadays I say no, I can't do it. I just hold my hands up.
It's interesting,
and I think that's something that I learned. I think that's something that everyone can take away.
Yeah, I think there's a balance though. I think because you're.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was just saying, I think it's interesting what you've said though, because there's a balance. Two of the things you've touched on actually. One is that you're always waiting for somebody to give you that next chance, that next
Absolutely.
step on the ladder. When I was working in a television team, I remember one of the casting researchers who desperately wanted that next level. And so one of the associate producers said, I will show you how to use the FS7 and do casting recce's. So there will be people willing to give you that next step. But also what you've just said, which I think is so true, sometimes you do just have to jump, take a leap of faith in yourself and do it. I said I could use Final Cut when I couldn't. And I went home and just spent hours on YouTube so that the next day I could cut together these recce's because we didn't have the editor available to come in the next day.
Yeah, I think everyone within this industry has had that thought at least of being like, well, I could do it, but I'm not sure if I should. But do you know what? I want this job so much that I'm going to say I'm going to do it. A friend of mine, actually, who is an actor, there was a role in a film that people do know. Oh, sorry, it was a TV series that is quite well known. And he said to the stunt team that he knew how to horse ride. And he didn't know how to horse ride to the standard that everyone else on the horse riding team did. So there was just this one person trailing at the back, and he obviously got caught and had to explain himself. So that wasn't the best example. That was an example of getting caught. So if you can get away with it, I do personally think that you should throw yourself out there for those opportunities. But don't be silly. Don't jump on a horse and say that you can sword fight and the rest of it.
No. But that horse riding story is essentially what happened to me on I Am a Killer. I got caught out because there was a lot of other people around me who were much better. It wasn't to say that what I was shooting was bad. It was just the industry, which is there's always going to be people better than you. And instead of fighting it, maybe you should just kind of, you accept it and you kind of embrace it and you kind of go, well, you're better than me. Let's work together. If I'd done that back then, if I'd gone, look, you're better than me, teach me, help me, then it wouldn't have been as bad of a thing. It wouldn't have been a thing of it. And I think what it was is I was a bit younger and I was a bit more headstrong and I didn't want to ask anyone for help. And like your mate on the horse, I just went with it. And I think that's something that everyone can learn in all of their careers, that sometimes it's all right just to kind of turn to someone who's better than you, especially in our industry, and just be like, mate, you're better than me, help me, because I want to get where you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just having the guts to say that is a massive step forward in anyone's career. If you can identify areas that you're not necessarily best in, but someone else standing next to you is so much better, learn from them or work together. Really good advice, Alex. Thanks.
And James, our co-founder, always says people love giving advice. Yeah. So if you go up to someone, especially when it's in an industry like this where everyone loves what they're doing, they love the creation the part that they're in, people will be happy to show you and give you that guidance and tips.
So whether
100%. Oh, our industry is made up of show-offs. So yeah. I loved it.
And we wouldn't want it any other way.
I love doing things. Do you want me to? I can tell you a bit more about how I ended up getting to where I am now, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so from Death Row, what was next?
From Death Row. After Death Row, weirdly, went Ghosts. I did a paranormal show. Which was really fun, but I mean, it was so ridiculous. We've literally flew around the world looking for ghosts.
No way.
which is odd. It was very odd, but it was just one of those things that when it came up, I was like, I can't say no to this because these are the kind of shows I sat watching as a 12-year-old hiding behind pillows. But also being grossly fascinated with. And I mean, you guys have seen my films, Rabbits and stuff. I think it fed into a lot of what I make now. That kind of macabre, kind of macabreness, or a bit fun and a bit campy as well. So I did that, and that was fun. And then moved on from that into, did some more true crime stuff, went out with a show called See No Evil, did that for Discovery ID. Which is a show which shows you how kind of police solve cases, but with the help of CCTV.
Wow.
So that kind of involved making contacts at Atlanta PD, and then also finding cases that they've solved using CCTV, or finding news pieces that talk about them, solving cases with CCTV. And one of my stories was with Atlanta PD. So then I had to go find the family of the guy who had actually been murdered, and he murdered with CCTV. And then also go and have to find policemen who was great, brilliant, like red-headed, beautiful female detective who was like hard as nails. It was like the perfect casting. Couldn't write it better if it was a film. We kind of went out with we did a whole episode out in Atlanta, which was skipping my mind now, and somewhere in Missouri. But similar kind of setup. So a lot of my work has been kind of making relationships with American police departments, or kind of also finding contributors that are in probably don't want to be, because you talk about the worst days of their life. And yeah, there's that's kind of what I learned actually a lot from Bad Killer, the Netflix documentary, was kind of how to do. There's a certain kind of bedside manner you're doing that. And I kind of went I got to that point. And then I don't know how quickly you want me to skip, but I'll just keep going through it for a bit.
No,
I kind of decided to move away from true crime docs, because I was getting a bit. It's a strange one to be a part of for a long time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You are surrounded, because you say true crime docs, it's murder. It's always about murder. So we moved. I tried to do the break, basically.
Yeah.
So I moved over to doing kind of science and engineering format. I recently. Sorry, again.
No, I was just saying it's very heavy subjects that you're dealing with, and constantly.
What was that?
I was mentioning how it's heavy subjects, and that you have to put all of that onto yourself.
Yeah.
So, continue, Alex.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's right. I'll be very. If you want a little bit of an inside sport on it, when you're dealing with American police, they do not. How to put it? So our police are really good. When you're dealing with English police, the victim comes first, essentially, which means that nothing can be done without the victim's consent. Nothing can be sent over, which is the right way of doing it. When you're dealing with the American police, it's all about how does the police department look, and if they've solved the crime, they will send you everything. Like, they won't even ask anyone if they want to be involved. They're the first line. So I know you get crime scene photos, you get autopsy photos, you get a lot of that stuff.
Wow.
Uncensored. It's a very
difficult.
All right if you've been doing it for a while, but when you've got like a bright, detailed researcher in the corner who've just been sent a bunch of files and they don't know not to look through them at speed and stuff like that, it can be quite a tough aspect of TV to be involved in. If you want to, would you put it like that?
Yeah,
So,
that's understandable.
So I decided to take a break. So I decided I wanted to get into kind of doing science formats, and I went at the beginning of January last year. I started on a show called Richard Hammond's Big, with Richard Hammond from Discovery Channel, from Top Gear. We were making it for Discovery Channel, and it kind of we went around the world looking at the biggest engineering feats from around the world, and that was really fun. So that involved kind of working with the US Air Force, and kind of like, I arranged us to go up on an air-to-air refueling mission in the world's biggest plane ever, full of Humvees, things like that. We went and did some other kind of crazy stuff like that. And then since then, I've just been working on little science formats here and kind of more producery stuff. It's really odd. I feel like I'm talking about myself too much. Please stop me.
No, it's really interesting just to hear from everything that you've been doing, from the working in the murder sector to then something so much lighthearted with Richard Hammond, and getting to explore the world. It sounds incredible.
Yeah, so if you had to sort of characterise what skills you think are essential or beneficial for the producing section of the industry. From your experience, what would you say those are?
Yeah. So I think it's a split really. So from the, because even though assistant producing's got producing in the name, I think it's quite different in a way. It almost should be called, it should be more story producing and stuff, because that's more what you do. So when you're doing an assistant producing thing, it's kind of what you need really good phone manner. You need really good kind of genuinely it is detective skills, because you've got to hunt down people sometimes who don't want to be contacted and found. And then you've got to be personable. I've met people in my career who are great at finding numbers and great at finding details, and then they get on the phone and then 2 seconds later the phone's down. And it's about you've got to be able to make a connection like that. Like you can't, because I might be phoning, like I say, someone whose brother had been killed 2 years ago, and the case was adjourned or something, and I want to talk to them. They're not going to want to talk to me, especially because a random British bloke is phoning an American guy out of the blue. So you've got to be, on it like that. You've got to be like, so that having that ability to kind of make a conversation, keep it going, is really important. And that also then lays over to later on when, hopefully you find this person you've got in front of the camera, is your interviewing skill. It comes across exactly the same. It's like we're doing right here. You guys are really good at it. It's just having natural conversation, letting whoever's in front of letting whoever's in front of the camera just to talk away, because you never know what within that is going to be gold.
Totally.
There's that side of it. There's also, though, you need good research skills. You need really, really good research skills, because no matter what you're on, as an assistant producer, you're coming up, depends on how the setup is within the company, but 9 times out of 10, you're pitching the ideas for your segments in your show or the whole kind of story, and you'll be pitching them to a producer or a PD or just a director. Yeah. And then if they like them, then they kind of go, great, go find these people now. So that's another one. You've got to have a good pitch. You've got to be able to pitch, even if it is small scale to your PD and stuff, because they'll then put it together and pitch it later, maybe to someone else, to like the channel or something. But you have to be able to do that to start with. Now, producing, from what I found in my early days of doing it, is all of that. Plus, you need a head for numbers, timings, schedules, keeping people together, people management, I think a big thing about producing is being able to read people and read a room and understand a situation very quickly, and understand when that situation's broken, how to fix it very quickly. Same with being a producer director, like it's kind of something. But yeah, they're what I find that's my kind of little Bible of what I think you need.
So if you could summarize then the top 3 skills that you need to be an assistant producer or a producer within documentary filmmaking, what would it be?
You need to be persistent. You need to be personable, and I wish I had another P, because that'd be really good.
It would be. Damn it.
Did you say persistent? Yeah.
Yeah. Persistent, personable, and you need a storyteller's mind. Honestly, you need to be able to tell a story, because it's all well and good having all that and having all the facts and figures, but if you can't put it in a good order that people are going to watch, and no one will watch it.
Yeah, I guess ultimately that's a skill that nearly everybody in this industry needs, regardless of whether you're in the art department or whether you're a writer, or, as you said, in the production team or directing, any HOD. But even under any role, I would go as far as to say needs that. I think that's so crucial, isn't it? Whatever you're doing in this industry.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah.
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 Cool.
We're an industry, whether you're in TV or film, we're an industry of it sounds so fantastical, but we're make-believers, do you know what I mean? Even if you're doing documentary.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Like, the thing is with documentary is, no matter how straightforward your documentary is, probably didn't happen exactly that way in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always a re-edit on it, or there's a something, or there's a time shift just to make the story that just makes sense. It's always going to be in there.
Plus, I remember reading a really interesting article that was sort of saying there's no such thing ever as actually telling something exactly how it was, because it's always going through some sort of, no pun intended, or some sort of agenda that's kind of behind the decisions in the edit. So essentially, there is no such thing as a completely pure transmission of a truthful event. But that's why it's art, and that's why we believe it's cinematic, and that's the skill involved in it, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes it different from just writing a piece of
Yeah,
journalism.
100%. I mean, the old exactly that. And there's the old adage where it's, about film in general, which is there's the one you write, there's the one you shoot, and there's the one you edit. And that's exactly the same for documentary. There's the one you research, there's the one you go and shoot, and then there's the one you find in the edit. Because, you might have a guy on set who seems great on camera, you get him back and it's just like, it just doesn't fit anywhere. So he's, that interview's got to go. Or it's got to be cut right down or whatever.
Totally. I'm just going to pause just for a second to ask if there are any questions in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat. There was just one person in here who was wondering who you were, Alex. So I've just informed them that you were a filmmaker who came through the platform a couple of years ago. So yes, if there's anything you'd like to add to that, you could just give a summary of who you are.
Yeah, that's how I know Liftoff, but I'm also an assistant producer working in documentary and factory entertainment. That's my day job, and my weekends are spent trying to make independent film.
So we've spoken a lot about your career from pretty much start up to date now. What I think would be really interesting is something that we touched on just before we went live, which is how you're navigating the current waters, and even more broadly or speculative, where you think this is going and how this is going to change our industry.
That's a great question, Claire.
What do you think? I know you had some thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, really. Yeah, I do. I mean, so before all this started, I was about to make my next short film, which actually was going to be made with the help of Liftoff. And I think it was the day before lockdown. I think I had to email you guys, and say, sorry guys, we've lost our location, we've lost everything.
Yeah.
You're on the other side, more or less. But yeah, and at that point, because lockdown hadn't officially happened, I kind of assumed it would be a month, maybe more. And I was working on a show at that point, which was something for ITV, and it just got pulled. The whole thing got cancelled. So since then, a lot of TV professionals, I've just been sat in limbo waiting for the industry to kind of come back, and it is coming back slowly. But what it seems like is it's coming back with particular things are coming back, is a way of saying it, I think. Things where we can distance, things that can be done through user-generated content. For a fact, I know that one of the few roles that hasn't really suffered too badly during Corona is editors and people who've got at-home suites and stuff, because they've been able to do all this, all this stuff we've seen, comedians filming themselves, and just got to have an editor somewhere, so they're doing all right. So I think there's going to be a lot more like that. I think there's going to be a lot more. We'll see a lot more people moving into editing, or as people start to move their way through the career, they might move towards more editing, because it is a bit more of a, at the minute, a safer role. And yeah, producing. There seems to be a lot more producing out there, because once again, you can have all this content, but you need a producer with an editor and to kind of figure out where it goes. But where do I see it going is, I think there's going to be a lot less. I'll talk in a minute, probably. My tongue's upside. There's going to be a lot less offices, I think.
Yes, I agree.
There's a lot less offices. They're going to know that everyone can work from home. So which is really upsetting, because, there's places like Soho in London, which were built around TV over the last 20, 30 years. And they were great, but, they're going to diminish. And you'll probably, if you ever have a meeting, these places will have a room or a boardroom somewhere for sure, but they probably won't be the full busy, buzzy TV offices that I kind of came up within. So that's going to change massively. But it's also going to there's a catalyst happening, which is nice, because I think what's really happening is it's pushing a lot of the older, I don't know how to put this. I said this actually before we got on this. There's always been a changing of a guard coming ever since I started in this industry. You could feel it. There's always, as I started, like I said, I started in digital, and there was this kind of coming wave of online and, and what we've seen with Netflix and what we've seen with Amazon and what we've seen. And I don't think that wave reached its peak yet. And I think if it weren't for this, it would have still taken another 5 years or so to really hit the apex of it all. But I think the catalyst that this has brought along, which is forcing production companies, forcing films, forcing everything to go online, is going to be huge. And the ramifications of it for all of us are just going to be out of this world, good and bad. What it'll mean is that the classic kind of way that TV and film were made is probably going to be dead in the next couple of years. And we are all going to kind of be these kind of digital nomads, hopefully. It means I can go work abroad somewhere. And we're to a desk. And I think for the independent film industry especially, it's going to be great. Because the idea now of being a lone little filmmaker, I think it's becoming, I don't know, everyone's doing it now, it seems. I mean, talking about TV, Jamie Oliver just did a whole TV show on his iPhone. He did the whole thing, filmed at home on his iPhone.
Technology as well is moving so fast.
I've worked on TV shows where they go, you can't have more than 25% not true HD. So that means anything like an iPhone, anything like a GoPro, usually it goes out the window, unless you kind of up-res it, all the kind of technical side. I think that's gone out the window. I think now people realise you can shoot on anything, and we'll be seeing a lot more of that on TV.
I think you're right. Because
and that will open.
The whole YouTube generation, the Instagram TV, and whatever other platform is out there, everyone is shooting on their phones, and everyone has access to amazing cameras which are in their phones. So people are used to seeing that quality and that standard. So I really feel like that is the way that things are going to happen or move forward.
Well, I think what's also going to happen, what used to seem other and has been still to this point other, so like your, IGTVs and stuff, they felt very separate, as much as, they were this big, the whole democratization, everyone's filmmakers, but they always seem like they all had their own little place. This whole thing seems to be bringing it into it's one big melting pot now, more than it ever has been.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's interesting because I don't know whether that's a solely positive thing or not. I was listening to a talk that the producer Colin Callender gave a few weeks ago, and he was sort of talking about his fear of just the purely subscription model for reasons, because he said, he loves channels like the BBC, obviously being British, because it creates a pathway still for British produced work. So sorry, this is for our UK viewers and filmmakers. But his concern was that a lot of this, even British ideas, go to American production companies. So I don't know is my point. I don't know whether if we go solely that way, does that mean certain work or talent gets lost? I'm not sure, but it's certainly more accessible. So I guess you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole, you can really get into TV and media theory through that with your whole kind of post-colonialism, blah, 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 where it kind of, we went over to America and influenced their TV, and then they came over and influenced theirs. But now it's getting to a point where I think there isn't any of that anymore. And like I say, with the melting pot, I think we need to stop, not really think this is ours and that's yours and this is, it should just be one big thing. Because that's great. Because when that does happen, we're trying to think, Sex Education on Netflix.
Yep.
That was a English written film filmed and made through an American lens. I've never seen a school or seen kids in England.
No, it's funny.
Very American.
We've gone very deep into this conversation here in the office because I was just like, what time period is this set in? What schools are they going to? What is going on? They all have iPhones or super duper flashy phones, but yet they drive around in old cars and live in old houses. I was very confused.
Yeah.
And for us, we were saying that that's why it didn't really work for us, Alex. So it's interesting that you chose that as an option because, yeah, it
Don't get me wrong,
didn't feel...
I don't like sex education. No personal opinion. I think it should be. There's a lot of issues with it. But what I'm saying is the feeling there of kind of. I think once we refine what we're doing, it could be, it could be good.
Yeah. I definitely feel like where our audience base, okay, mainly America, the UK, Australia, probably have like the biggest audiences from Netflix, as well as around the rest of the world. But what's a universal school? Everyone knows lockers. Everyone knows they get to wear their own clothes at school. So this makes it relatable to everyone.
That's true.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, it's an interesting way of being, right? Because like we were saying earlier, that everyone within TV needs to be storytellers. We should think about that actually. And that's kind of what it's doing. What it's doing is everyone there, from your production designers, your writers, your costumes, everyone there has gone, well, what can we do that everyone can relate to? How can we make this so that everyone can relate to it? And, it's really interesting in a way. And I think, I don't know if we'll see more of it, but I think it kind of feeds into what you were saying about maybe I think we need to stop thinking about losing our own Britishness things. I think we just need to kind of be one in a weird yogic way.
Yeah. Cool. Well, just to round up then, is there any final words of wisdom that you may have for our audience?
I don't know about wisdom.
I'm sure you do.
Well, look, if you're trying to get into TV, let me think. So if you're trying to get into TV, I'll say a few things. I don't know what age range of people are watching. If you're trying to specifically get into TV and you're really starting, you're right at the start of it. I went to university and I did TV production. Don't do that. If you're gonna, don't do that. Do it for the life experience, but don't do it. Go and become a runner. Go and work your way up, because all you'll do is you'll come out of university and have to go and be a runner anyway. So just get a jump start on everyone.
So true.
Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help in TV. Don't be afraid to tell people where you want to go. A lot of people think you're meant to kind of keep it a bit secret and Everywhere I've got in my career is through going, this is what I want to do. I'm trying to get into that level. I'm trying to go to the next level. And eventually someone will hear you. Like, don't be afraid of that. TV and film as well, they kind of is a bit of a, there is a hierarchy, and it's annoying, but you have to kind of adhere to it. But that doesn't mean you can't tell the person above you that you want to be where they are.
Do you know what?
Because
just
a lot
to
of the
jump
time,
in there,
like you
actually.
said,
just to jump in there, the talent coordinator with the company I worked for actually said, she advised that V have a very short statement saying, I'm currently doing this and I've done this with the aim of doing this eventually. So she says, yes, stick it right up there straight away. Let people know where you want to head so that people can help you get there.
And just to add to that, if you're embarrassed about your end goal, why are you doing it?
That's true as well, yeah.
Why be secretive?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, the other thing is just be brave. And I know that sounds really corny, but half of this industry is just like, actually, this is the best piece of advice that someone once gave me. My brother gave me this one. Everyone in film and TV is blagging it. Everyone. Remember that, because what that means is when you feel like you're not doing it right, or maybe you're kind of blagging it a little bit and trying to figure it out as you go, everyone's doing the same.
Hear. Yeah. That's great advice.
We're all just trying to make it work.
That's the thing. Everyone wants it to work, and everyone wants to be a part of that journey. So, yeah, really good advice.
Yeah,
Thank you, brother.
Exactly. Thanks. Yeah. No, yeah.
Great. So, Claire, do you have any final thoughts?
So, I think that's Nick, wait, was that for me? Missed that.
Well,
Final
yeah.
thoughts?
If you have any final thoughts, or if Claire, you have any final thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your whole journey so far, because I just think there's nothing more useful then hearing where someone started from and how they've got to where they've got to, because we've said it so many times, this industry does feel like a closed door and one that can be very scary for people to approach. So it just massively helps hearing from people like you and seeing how you've done it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks. I mean, can I say one last thing quick?
Yeah.
Please
Go for
do.
it.
Actually, one other thing, because someone once said to me, and it kind of knocked me off my path of doing film for a while. Someone once went to me, "You can't do TV and film." They were like, "You can't do it; it doesn't work." And I just want to say that's absolute rubbish. So if there's anyone out there who is working in TV and wants to do film, or is in film and wants to do TV, jump back and forth. Like, don't worry about it. There's a very old school way of thinking that we should be kept separate, and luckily that is coming down, that feeling. But
I've heard the
do
exact
whatever you
same
want to
thing.
do.
I had 2 printed out sheets laid down in front of me
Yeah.
showing
None
the
of them
different
proof, but-
hierarchies and how if you start progressing in one, you'd have to immediately go right back down to the other. So choose one, stick to one. I heard the exact same thing about 5 years ago. So I think that's really worthwhile hearing you say that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that advice. I've also heard something similar before. If you want to work in TV, just stick in TV because you'll get all of your circles, all your contacts within that group. But the majority of people who work in TV also want to make film. It's like you saying that you make film on your weekends as passion projects. I'm sure you make more films a year than a filmmaker who purely focuses on film. So, listen,
of course. And they, the amount of times I've gone for a job and they've looked at a CV and at the top of it it's got, rabbit, all the rest of it. They kind of go, "Oh, you make films?" And I kind of go, "Yeah," because they're all repressed filmmakers, and they'll all tell you about a script they have or a film they made when they were like 18, and like all this, and they appreciate it because what it does once again is shows that you're a storyteller, and like we said before, we should all be storytellers.
Yeah,
nice
absolutely.
note to end on then.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And when all of this is over, we have to meet up in person and we have to get your project made. That is the goal.
Yeah, when we're all back and running, actually, it'd be really
film.
nice to get you back in this studio with us, doing another stream with no internet issues, and that would be great. That would be great.
Yes.
So,
Well, thank you so much, Alex.
yeah.
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So moving on. So we missed this at the beginning, but something that is important, and I believe Alex is actually a member of our Lift Off Global Network members group. So this is a closed group on Facebook that has everything in there, such as job listings, opportunities to meet the other filmmakers in there, and you can ask us questions and also get yourself onto one of these career road mapping sessions if you desire. So if you are a Lift Up Professional member, please join us in that group and we will see you there. But to round everything off, in the next coming weeks, and actually this Friday, I'm doing a workshop on location scouting. So tips for indie filmmakers. How do you find opportunities? How do you find that perfect location for your project? So join me on Friday at 12 o'clock for that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and we will see you. Well, I'll see you on Friday and next Wednesday.
I'll be in the chat room.
Yeah.
Definitely. Locations is such a tricky one for so many people, so I'm sure there'll be people having lots of questions.
Yes. And join us both again next Wednesday for the next career road mapping session. Thank you so much for joining us.